In vitro fertilization, we talk a little bit about that in the human world, and once we can get that technology up and running, that would be another way to be able to harvest some of those genetic material, preserve it, and be able to repopulate that going forward. One of the new platforms that we've launched is the RSG Foundation, and because it is so near and dear to our heart, not only youth engagement of how do we get these young folks involved, how do we help alleviate some poverty and hunger in the world, and then how do we preserve the rare breeds. And those are all part, the three main functions that we want the foundation to be able to support and contribute to. And we never know what tomorrow holds. And the genetic preservation is so important because of that. And diversity is always good. You know, it doesn't matter whether it's diversity in humans, whether it's diversity in animals, diversity in our societies. Diversity is a good thing. And if we don't do our part to support, promote, protect, then someday we're going to regret it. In the Prairie project with trying to replicate some new genetics, bring some outside genetics in, again, that helps even create diversity. Even though the breed is small, if we can bring in some of those outside genetics, we can create a little diversity within a small population. So in terms of preserving these genetics through the gene banks and things of that nature, when you start to compare it to recently what occurred in 2020, where humans went through the pandemic period there, same things could occur in animal populations. And so some kind of a disease outbreak spreads across the world. If we don't have some genetics preserved or banked, then we could be in a world of hurt by not having some of those food and fiber sources or genetic sources. There's a lot of areas there that we could be in trouble with. If you compare the most recent outbreak that occurred in England or Scotland, which was foot and mouth, that was a big push that that country instituted, was how do we go into these population areas where we know we have foot and mouth disease, but we can collect and bank some of those genetics, separate that from the disease, if you will, into liquid nitrogen tanks, so we've got the disease separate from the genetics, and then we can eradicate the disease and we still have the genetics. So there's a lot of implications for that down the road. The other piece is transporting genetics across country borders. And so to the disease prevention standpoint, when we export genetics from here into other countries, those animals go through a rigorous testing process and quarantine and isolation. And then so once those materials are collected, they're preserved in separate canisters, separate locations. And so we can ensure that when that genetic material leaves here, there's not a disease associated with it when it crosses the borders. Same thing happens when they come in. And so it's a lot more difficult to do that with live animals, depending on the health status of those countries that they're moving from.